Welcome back to Whilton Mill. We're getting things ready for the Super Elites. Can anybody stop the charge of Sam Faulkner from the front of the grid? I'm doubtful. He won both the earlier races. Jay Hudman did a good job and he's close. Steve Yule and Amy Jurger are not far behind. Snape, Evans, Darling, Bradbury, Stanley, Rainbow, Baldwin and Watt are next. Will Checkley wanting to fight his way through. Keep an eye on Matthew Pearce towards the back of the grid. If the conditions are favouring him, he could be a very strong front runner by the end of this race. Here we go. Jay Hudman trying to combat the leader of this race, Sam Faulkner. Elliot Stanley, another leading seed, but Faulkner has been the man on form for the first two races of the day. Let's look at some of the other drivers in the field as they make their way through to Christmas. David Darling was a good newbie last year. Richard Evans, the reigning Jedi champion. He'll want to be higher than 8th in the standings, though. Aaron Banks, the man from Tamworth, he's got some good racing ahead of him. Tom Snape has been very strong in the latter stages of the weekend. Expect a charge through from him. Carl Watt has been very feisty. Some good overtaking moves from him. Jason Bradbury has been good at reading the conditions, but he wants more out of this final. John Collins has not been too bad either. He's had some good opportunities. Keenan Said has been getting quicker wherever the possibilities arise for him. Matthew Pearce doing a reasonable job, and he wants to get faster and faster as the racing goes on. Let's have a look at that. Evans going through on the inside of Hudman and Darling in there. Steve Yule is going to be a feisty one as well in this race. Amy Jurger has been going very quickly this weekend, and she's getting a lot more pace. James Baldwin, watch him in the latter stages of this race as well. Matt Rainbow wants to come through. Here comes Darling up the inside of Hudman. Now, interestingly, Darling is on slicks. Most of the rest of the field are on wets, but 2 or 3 drivers have opted to go for slick tyres, and Darling in the early stages of this race has got so much more grip than other drivers out there. There are some damp patches around the circuit, but there's enough of a dry line for Darling to get a lot of grip. This is working out in his favour, but I'm not sure because there's a big cloud looming overhead. If that breaks, Darling is going to go backwards down the field. He's doing his best and making hay while the sun shines, but it's not shining for long. Here we go into the boot once again. A few drivers struggling for position. One in particular I'm a little bit surprised about is the 7th seed, Jonathan Corrie. He's not having a great meeting here, and he's struggling for grip a lot of the time. Hopefully he'll be able to move his way through. You just saw him go by there. Now, this is the battle for 4th. Darling at the front. Hudman is next as the leading seed. Oh, that's a big mistake from Darling, and Hudman's going to go straight past him. Now, watch out, because there's more where that came from. Up the inside comes Tom Snape, and I think Elliot Stanley's going to try and make the move as well. Oh dear, maybe Darling just hit the wrong wet patch, and that's caused his tyres to cool right down. No grip, and backwards he goes. Plus, I have a feeling there's more rain in the air, and if it falls, then unfortunately Darling will start to just disappear backwards down the field. But again, Darling was in a position where he kind of needed to take a gamble, but it's not going to happen. Look at Sam Faulkner ahead of Steve Yule and Richard Evans. He's just disappearing. Steve Yule doing a great job, trying to run with him for as long as he can. But it all looks like it's going to be Sam Faulkner. There's Amy Jurger going through, making some good progress. She's had good pace as well. It's interesting, both her and Sky Siddle in the juniors, they tend to hang around each other a lot in the paddock. They're thick as thieves, those two, and neither of them have actually been out much in testing over the winter. Amy Jurger was here for the shakedown, Siddle wasn't, but Jurger really seems to have hit a sweet spot around Whilton Mill. She had some bad luck in terms of her tyre strategy earlier, but when it's raining, she's pretty quick, so if we do get a rain shower in this race, do not be too surprised if she comes through. That's Jonathan Corrie battling it out with Carl Watt, as Watt gets down to Zulu 2. Watt's been pretty feisty in terms of his racecraft. He's got some good moves under him as they try and close up on Jonathan Collins in the 203. Up towards the far side. This is an opportunity for Corrie. Watt's left the door open. He didn't even realise he'd left the door open there. Such was the cunning of Jonathan Corrie through the toe of the boot. But that's worked out fine. Now here's the battle for 4th position. This is Jay Hudman in front of Tom Snape and Elliot Stanley. Snape has really come good in the final. He was pretty good in the heat, fairly feisty in the pre-final, but here, this is his stronghold. He's got a great opportunity here, Snape. If he keeps hassling Hudman, he's going to have an opportunity. The 5th position at the moment, there's Richard Evans, the reigning Jedi champion in this class. The slightly senior drivers in the Super Elites are referred to as Jedis, and in the Super Elite, in the Super Masters, they're known as Grand Masters. So let's have a look and see how this battle develops between these three. Snape is working very hard to get on terms, and I think he's made an opening there on the way up Crook. No, the door is shut at Fine Lady by Hudman, who now has to defend to the inside line. Snape's going to go right round the outside of Christmas. How on earth did he do that? Absolutely brilliant overtake from Snape. That is one of the best moves I've ever seen at Christmas on Whilton Mill. What an astonishing overtake from Snape. That is world class, never mind birelART class. Magnificent. So now, Elliot Stanley's seen that move and thought, well, is there really that much grid around the outside? Maybe I'll do that on Jay next time around. But Snape is absolutely lording it over the rest. Now, Jonathan Corrie's got himself back into the gaggle. That's Jason Bradbury in front in the 196. As he makes the move up the inside, he's going to get past. And that's a nice move on the inside of Matt Rainbow. Oh my word, Ami Jurger's in the gaggle for 6th position at the front of this field. 290, James Baldwin is in there as well. 2 more, didn't quite see who they were, so we'll have to look again. Here we go, that's Jurger, then Baldwin. And then there's 3 more behind because Darling is slipping to the back of that queue. So that's the 203 going by, that is Jonathan Collins. And just in front, it's the Dayglow green and yellow machine. That is the cart of Matthew Pearce, who is charging his way through the field. So Pearce is up to 8th position, in there behind 290 James Baldwin, but Ami Jurger is just soaking up the pressure and getting on with this. Now, to be fair, what all of these drivers could do with right now is a sprinkling of rain, unless your name's David Darling. That's the last thing you want as Pearce gets past Baldwin. So Pearce makes the move, and that's also an opening for the 203, John Collins. He gets through as well, so Baldwin slips down 2 places in the space of 2 corners. First in the ankle, then in the toe. And now out through the heel, he's got to watch all 3 carts go through. Still that battle going on as Watt is desperately losing that battle with Jonathan Corrie, who's now on the back of his opponent, Matt Rainbow. So as they continue on, this is the battle for 4th position again. Snape in front of Hudman and Stanley. Stanley not quite close enough yet to challenge Jay Hudman. Hudman was very strong in the pre-final, managed to get himself into 2nd position. Here's Steve Yule being closed rapidly by Richard Evans now. Evans has definitely found some good pace. Tom Snape still can't get over that overtaking move. Round the outside at Christmas. You'd be an absolute mentalist to try that move, but he's pulled it off with sublime courage and incredible skill. There's a great intellect there in Tom Snape. Let's look back to the battle for... Well, we were going to look back, but they're actually such a long way off the pace there. That battle for 7th place. Here we go. Ami Jurger in front of Matthew Pearce. Hassling Ami all the way. Up and over the curbs at Inkermans, down towards Ashby, and then the run to Zulus. Here are the Zulus. And this is 4th, 5th and 6th in the battle. Snape, Hudman, and then the number 4 there of Elliot Stanley. Then Jurger in 7th, Pearce in 8th, Collins is 9th, ahead of Baldwin in 10th position, who is desperately trying to get himself back into the action, but these 4 carts battling away for 7th position. Here comes Richard Evans to make the move on Steve Yule, and that's why Yule, look, he's on slicks compared to Evans on wets by the look of it. So I would suspect that Yule has been able to get as much grip as he can out of the tyres in this early stage. Or am I wrong? I think maybe no, maybe Yule is on wet tyres actually looking at it. So perhaps he's just pushed it very, very hard in the early stages and Evans has just found the speed to get back onto it. It's so difficult when they're at speed. Now Darling is under some pressure. We know that Darling is definitely on slick tyres. Everyone behind him there is on wets. So Snape, Hudman and Elliot Stanley. Then Jurger, Pearce, Collins and Baldwin. A fantastic 4-way scrap this for the top 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th positions. Great battles here. 4th position and 7th position are the places to be looking. Look at how quickly Evans is getting away from Steve Yule. That's a massive gap between them now. Snape has got Jay Hudman right with him though. Hudman has not had enough yet. He's going to push up through Inkermans towards Ashby. He might be right back with Snape if he can keep this kind of pace for the lap up as they come towards the boot once more. So let's see if we're going to get a little bit more spice from this 4th position battle as Snape runs in front of the 3 of Jay Hudman. Down the back straight. No, Hudman's not quite close enough yet. 5 minutes on the clock, and Hudman, though, he is giving Tom Snape a bit of hassle in the braking zone as they come up through the heel onto the main straight once again, and you can see the damp patches are offline, but online there's actually a dry line developing. Although having said that, that sky is getting darker again. We could see another shower. Oh, that's off the road. That's Elliot Stanley. Elliot Stanley's gone wide, and Stanley's off the road. That is a disaster for Elliot Stanley. He's overcooked it on the exit of Crook, and it looks as though there's big damage to the kart. His race might be over. What a shame for Elliot Stanley. He was looking good for a top 6. So that promotes that titanic battle between Jurga, Pierce, Collins and the man in the back of it, James Baldwin. That promotes them to a battle for 6th position. And these two are actually catching Steve Ewell now. So here's the battle for 6th. There's 3 of them though. Where's Baldwin? Baldwin has slipped back. Now we didn't see what's happened to Baldwin, but there is Ewell. Here comes Snape and Hudman closing up on the 3rd place man. Meanwhile, this is the battle between Jonathan Corrie and the 196 of Jason Bradbury. So Bradbury holding on. Goodness me, there are battles everywhere in this grid. The Super Elites are giving us some great action in the first round of the championship. It's tough to know where to look as 157 Tom Snape comes up to lap. And who is that? He's going to get a lap on. That's Kenan Said, I think, as very nearly losing the place to Jay Hudman as they went through. But there's Richard Evans, the length of the back straight now in front of Steve Ewell, who is losing a lot of ground. And that's a shake of the head for 291. That is Matt Rainbow. He's on his own and he doesn't want to be. Now the yellow flag is stationary. Have we got a kart off the racing line at Zulu 2? Couldn't see it from there, so we might have another retirement. That's Kenan Said as he goes through. Not having the greatest of races for him, but there's time to improve. And through comes the 196 in front of the 7. So Bradbury still battling it out with John Corrie. And Snape, look at that. He's able to get away from Jay Hudman a little bit now to reel in Steve Ewell with 3 minutes to go. Snape could even get a place on the podium here. He could do this. Down to Zulu, through the 1st, down the drop, and through the 2nd. Tom Snape is actually starting to reel in Steve Ewell, who was in 2nd for the vast majority of this race, almost forgetting completely that Sam Faulkner is out on his own, blissfully unaware that there are great battles going on behind him. He's so fast, he's almost Alain Prostish, Sam Faulkner. He's almost boring to watch out in the lead of the race, but he's commanding the pace beautifully. Here's Corrie, still hassling Bradbury as we look back to Christmas. There's Ewell and Snape and Hudman. It's a 3-way scrap a second, and Hudman goes far too fast. How on earth has he done that? I wonder if he's got a brake problem, because Jay Hudman would not make that kind of mistake just because he's pushing it too hard. I wonder if he's got a brake issue, because he was going far too fast into the apex for Christmas, and it looked as if he was desperately trying to slow the car down, but nothing was happening. So I wonder if he's had brake failure. So interestingly there, we've now got Tom Snape all over the back of Steve Ewell. I think he's going to catch him unawares. Goodness me, now Steve Ewell knows about him. Tom Snape pushing very hard indeed, trying to make the move. He looks back. Oh, where's Jay Hudman gone? He suddenly realises, there is Hudman. Yes, he's pointing to the brakes. I've got no brakes. So he's having to be very careful as he goes around the circuit. So in the slower corners, you'll see him be very, very careful and cautious from now on. But I think Jay Hudman's got a brake problem. So here we go again. Steve Ewell holding on to this battle for 2nd position, well 3rd position of course, because Richard Evans is up the road. So let's see. Oh, he's actually getting some hassle from Snape. His arm is in the air. What are you doing? Stop shoving me round the racetrack. This isn't stock cars, this is karting. So Snape is doing a good job to tuck under the inside line, up and over the curbs, and he's created a space. Brilliant move from Snape, but Ewell is going to come back alongside him. They bang wheels, and he shoves him across to the wet patch. And Snape's arm is now in the air. Frustration in the final couple of minutes. Ewell is like, what are you doing shoving me around the racetrack? Snape is irritated because he's been run out of road. Here comes Evans, lapping David Darling. So Evans still there in 2nd position solidly. He will be the leading Jedi, and he'll be runner-up in this race. But who's going to be 3rd? Is it going to be Steve Ewell or is it going to be Tom Snape? Great battles between the two of them. Now this is further back. That is Sam Faulkner going into the penultimate lap. And he's lapping John Corrie. I think that's only the 2nd time we've seen him in the whole race. The action behind him has been far more entertaining than watching Faulkner dominate out front. But he has done a fantastic job, Sam Faulkner, leading this race so beautifully as he did in the dry, in the heat, and the wet in the pre-final. So he's going very well indeed. Now, Ewell has still got Snape to battle, and 2 laps to go. So time is ticked down to nothing, so we're on the penultimate lap. There'll be one more lap after this one. Ewell is defending. Snape's going to tuck to the inside. Snape drifts across to hold him back. Through Inkermans. Up to Ashby. Is Snape going to make the move? Not yet. He's going to wait to see if Ewell drifts wide. Back on the power. Up towards Zulu. Through the 1st apex. Down the drop. Into the 2nd. Good exit needed here, Tom. That's beautiful. Steve Yule's going to have to struggle over the curbs. Can he duck out the inside? Here we go. Up the inside. Job done. Very nicely done from Tom Snape. And actually, there was a little bit of a twitch there from Yule as he tried to get back on terms with him. And look, the gap has opened up. It's a country mile. Tom Snape is going to run away with this for third position as we go into the final lap. Now, where else is there a battle? Well, we've got Jay Hudman desperately trying to hold off the attentions of Matt Rainbow, who I think he's actually just lapped, but Ami Jurga is hanging on, still hanging on by a thread in front of Pearson Collins, who are giving us so much hassle. There's Sam Faulkner. He's going to take the victory. A billion miles ahead of the rest. What a lights the flag victory for Faulkner. Second place is going to be Evans as those two come through, Corrie and Bradbury. But Jurga is now on the knife edge as she desperately tries to hold on in front of Pearson Collins. There's Evans coming through for second place. Look back, Tom Snape is going to get third position. Oh well, we're back to this battle as Ami Jurga again tries to hold on. And Snape very nearly lapping David Darling as he comes across the line. Sorry, Dave. Slicks were not the right call, but it was worth a try. Here's Jay Hudman, and Ami Jurga comes through in front of Pearson Collins. Well defended, Ami. And look at that, the heavens open. That is a big rain shower before the Supermasters, so I think that's their tyre choice made. Wet tyres. Well, great victory for Sam Faulkner. Richard Evans in second from Snape. A fantastic drive for Snape in third. Yule, Hudman and Jurga hanging on in front of Pearson Collins, with Stanley recovering to ninth place in front of Jonathan Corrie. What a race. Sam Faulkner, another flawless drive from you today, and again showing what you can do in all conditions today.
Oh yeah, it was just tried to match the car to the conditions and just did that all day.
You had like 2 or 3 different types of race over the course of the day, but in the final, once you just got ahead, you just disappeared.
Just got into a rhythm and just did that for lap after lap and then got a gap.
So this time we might see that championship you almost had last year.
Hopefully, yeah.
We saw 2 titanic battles in the Supermasters today, but there won't be any slick tyres out there if they know what's good for them. The heavens are opening for the Supermasters final.